Good day, everyone. Today, our group will be discussing one of the most urgent and most important global issues of our time, climate change. So, climate change is more than just a scientific concept. It is a real and growing threat that is being felt across the world, especially here in the Philippines. In this presentation, we will explore the background of climate change, its major causes, and the wide-ranging impacts it brings to our environment and society. But before anything else, let us begin with a clear understanding of what climate change actually means and why it matters. Climate change refers to the long-term shift in temperature, weather patterns, rainfall, wind behavior, and the frequency of extreme natural events. Historically, the Earth's climate has always changed, but very slowly, taking thousands of years for noticeable shifts to occur. However, in recent centuries, something changed. Scientists observed that the planet began to warm much faster than at any other time in Earth's history. The big question is why? According to NASA, the Earth's average temperature has risen by about 1.1 degrees Celsius since the late 18s. The last decade has always been the hottest period ever recorded. This rapid warming is linked to melting glaciers, stronger and more destructive typhoons, unpredictable rainfall patterns, and rising sea levels worldwide. The Philippines is one of the most vulnerable countries due to its location within the Pacific Ring of Fire and the typhoon belt. Each year, we experience stronger tropical cyclones, longer and more intense droughts, unpredictable seasons, higher storm surges, and more frequent flooding. These events are not coincidence. They are clear signs of warming planet and a rapidly changing climate. To guide our learning today, here are the main objectives of this discussion. First, to identify the major causes of climate change. Second, to discuss and analyze the various impacts of climate change, including economic, geopolitical, biological, and meteorological aspects, and to provide recommendations and insights for addressing and adapting to climate change. So by the end of this presentation, our goal is to help everyone understand that climate change is not just a global issue, it is a personal issue. It affects us, our families, and the future generations.
Hello everyone. So these are the causes of climate change. There are two main causes, natural causes and human-induced causes. I will first discuss the natural causes of climate change, and there are four of them: volcanic activity, solar radiation and orbital variations, ocean currents and natural climate oscillations, and the natural greenhouse effect. I will explain each one, but before that, let me define what natural causes of climate change are. So what are the natural causes of climate change? Natural causes of climate change are the factors that change the Earth's climate without any involvement from humans. These are natural processes that have been happening long before people existed. The first one is volcanic activity. So volcanoes are one of the biggest natural causes of short-term climate change. How it works: when a big eruption occurs, ash and gases are released high into the atmosphere. These tiny particles block some of the sunlight, which causes the Earth to cool slightly for a short period of time. One example is when Mount Pinatubo erupted in 1991. So much ash entered the atmosphere that the Earth's temperature dropped by about 0.5 degrees Celsius for almost 2 years. So yes, volcanoes can cool the planet, but only temporarily. Please note that volcanoes do release carbon dioxide, but the amount is very small compared to what humans release, so volcanic activity cannot explain the long-term global warming happening today. So the second one is solar radiation and orbital variations. The sun does not always shine with the same strength. There are changes in the sun's activity. The sun becomes slightly more or less active over time. When solar energy increases, Earth's warm a little. And when solar energy decreases naman, Earth cools a little. This happens in 11-year sunspot cycles. And there are also changes in Earth's orbit. This is what they called Milankovitch cycles. Earth's orbit and tilt change slowly over tens of thousands of years, and these changes affect how sunlight is distributed across the planet. They are responsible for natural events such as ice ages and warmer periods. But again, these changes happen very slowly. Meanwhile, today's warming is happening in just decades, which is way too fast to be caused by natural cycles. So the third one is ocean currents and natural climate oscillations. Oceans play a big role in climate. The best examples are El Niño and La Niña. So what is El Niño? El Niño happens when ocean surface temperatures in the central and eastern Pacific becomes warmer than usual. This leads to dry weather and droughts in some areas, while heavy rainfall and floods in others. And La Niña, on the other hand, is the opposite. The ocean surface becomes cooler than normal. This can bring cooler temperatures, more rainfall, stronger typhoon. And the fourth one is the greenhouse effect. This one is very important. The greenhouse effect is a natural and beneficial process. And how does it work? Well, certain gases in the atmosphere like carbon dioxide, methane, and water vapor act like a blanket around the Earth. They trap some of the sun's heat, keeping our planet warm enough for life. Without the natural greenhouse effect, Earth's average temperature would be around 18 degrees Celsius, which is too cold for humans, animals, and plants to survive. The natural greenhouse effect is good and necessary, but when humans add too much carbon dioxide and other gases, the blanket becomes too thick. This traps too much heat, causing dangerous warming we are experiencing today. To sum it all up, the natural causes do affect the climate, but they cannot explain the rapid warming happening today. That is why scientists say modern climate change is mainly caused by humans. As I explained earlier, climate change existed before, but natural climate changes were slow and not as intense. What's happening now is much faster and stronger because humans are overusing and abusing the environment. And that topic will be discussed to the next reporter.
We now move to the far more significant category, which is the human-induced causes. These are problems that come directly from our actions and choices as a society. Unlike natural processes that happen slowly over thousands of years, human activities have changed the climate at an extremely fast and alarming rate. In this section, we will explore how our choices and activities contribute to this global crisis. So now, let us move into one of the most important human-induced causes of climate change, which is the burning of fossil fuels. So this is considered the top contributor to global warming. So fossil fuels include coal, oil, and natural gas, and these are the main sources of energy used worldwide. So halos lahat ng gamit natin araw-araw, from electricity in our homes, to gasoline in cars, to energy in factories, ay nanggaling pa rin sa fossil fuels. Because of this high dependence, we release massive amounts of greenhouse gases every single day. So to give you a clear picture, when fossil fuels are burned, they produce carbon dioxide and methane. So these are the two most dominant greenhouse gases responsible for trapping heat in the atmosphere. So para ni siyang kumot na hindi natin maalis. So greenhouse gases form a thick blanket around the Earth that traps heat, preventing it from escaping back to space. And because of this, the planet becomes warmer, and what makes this alarming is the speed at which these gases are increasing. So scientists recorded that before industrialization, or bago pa nagkaroon ng malaking factories and machines, the carbon dioxide level was only about 280 parts per million. Today, it has risen to over 420 parts per million, which is the highest level in 800,000 years according to NASA. So ibig sabihin, even in the entire human history, never pang naging ganito kataas ang greenhouse gases. So we can actually see the effects of fossil fuel combustion all around the world. So in major cities, power plants and factories burn coal to produce electricity. Sa atuang transportation like cars, buses, jeepneys, trucks, and airplanes burn petroleum-based fuels every time they move. So as a result, millions of tons of carbon dioxide are released globally each year. And kung napapansin natin, mas mabilis uminit ang panahon natin ngayon, and extreme heat waves are more common. So this increasing temperature is directly linked to the continuous burning of fossil fuels. What makes the situation even more challenging is that fossil fuels have been the backbone of economic growth for decades. So countries rely on them because they are accessible, powerful, and relatively cheap. Pero dahil dito, we also became dependent on something that is slowly destroying our climate. The more we burn, the hotter the earth becomes, and the hotter the earth becomes, the more we experience climate-related disaster, which is stronger typhoons, longer droughts, melting ice caps, rising sea levels, and unpredictable weather patterns. So dili lang niya siya environmental issue, this is also a global responsibility that affects our future and the future of the next generations. Now, let us move on to another major human-induced causes of climate change, which is deforestation. So deforestation refers to the large-scale removal or destruction of forests, and it plays an extremely important role in accelerating global warming. So forests are often described as the lungs of the earth because they absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen through photosynthesis. So para lang itong tao, kung wala tayong baga, dili di pa ito makahinga. So ganun din sa ato ang planet. So forests help keep the atmosphere balanced and healthy. But when these forests are cut down, burned, or converted into farmland or urban developments, we lose one of the most powerful and natural defenses against climate change. So trees acts as carbon sinks, meaning nag-store silang huge amounts of carbon dioxide inside silang trunks, sa ilang leaves, and silang roots. So scientists estimates that forests store nearly 300 billion tons of carbon globally, but when trees are destroyed, that stored carbon is released back into the atmosphere, adding to the greenhouse gases that trap heat and warm the planet. So ibig sabihin, dili lang mawala ang mga puno, kundi mugawas itong carbon dioxide na tugay na niyang ginatago. So deforestation is especially alarming in tropical countries such as Brazil, Indonesia, and the Philippines, where forests are the most diverse and ecologically important in the world. So in the Philippines, illegal logging, agricultural expansion, and the mining have led to the rapid decline of our forest cover. So kung titingnan natin ang history natin, the Philippines used to be 70% forested, but now we are down to around 24% and in some areas even less. But what makes deforestation even more dangerous is that forests not only store carbon, they also regulate temperature, rainfall, and the overall climate. Forests help keep the air humid, maintain local rainfall patterns, and moderate heat. So when they are destroyed, weather patterns become unpredictable. So this leads to longer droughts, irregular rainfall, and even stronger typhoons. So when forests vanish, the land becomes hotter and drier because there are no trees to absorb heat or retain moisture. Kaya mas madalas ang heat waves at mas mabilis matuyo ang lupa at mas nagiging pabago-bago ang panahon. Another major effect of deforestation is soil erosion. Trees hold the soil together with their roots, so without them, the soil becomes loose and easily washed away by rain. So in many countries like the Philippines, this has caused deadly landslide. So forests also help prevent flooding by absorbing rainwater like a sponge. But when forests are cleared, the water flows freely and uncontrollably, causing flash floods in low-lying communities. Climate scientists warn that if deforestation continues at this pace, global warming will accelerate even more. So if you want a safer future, especially with the worsening effects of climate change, we must protect our forests before it's too late. Protecting the forest means protecting ourselves. Another major human-induced causes of climate change is agriculture and livestock farming. While agriculture is essential for feeding billions of people around the world, it also contributes significantly to global warming. So sa madaling salita, even if kailangan natong farming sa itong food, it also produces greenhouse gases that trap heat in our atmosphere, worsening climate change. So the two main greenhouse gases from agriculture are methane and nitrous oxide, so both of which are far more potent than carbon dioxide. So livestock such as cattle, sheep, and goats produce large amounts of methane through a digestive process called enteric fermentation. So methane is 25 times more effective than carbon dioxide at trapping heat in the atmosphere. So nitrous oxide, on the other hand, is largely emitted from soils treated with nitrogen-based fertilizer, which are commonly used to boost crop yields. So a single cow can release up to 500 liters of methane per day, and imagine large farms with hundreds of cows, so that's millions of liters of methane entering the atmosphere annually. Now let's move on to our last human-induced factor that significantly contributes to climate change, which are industrialization and urbanization. So industrialization refers to the growth of industries such as manufacturing, mining, construction, cement production, steel making, and chemical processing. So in simple terms, muna siya ang pagdami sa mga pabrika, sa mga malalaking planta, at mga heavy industries that produce goods for national and global use. So these industries are essential for economic growth because they create jobs, produce materials for buildings and infrastructure, and support daily life. But despite their benefits, they also come with serious environmental consequences. So many of these industrial activities release massive amounts of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. So for example, cement production alone contributes to about 8% of global carbon dioxide emissions because cement manufacturing requires extremely high temperature that burn fossil fuels. Steel and chemical industries also emit large quantities of carbon, methane, and nitrous oxide, which trap heat far more effectively than carbon dioxide. But apart from industrialization, another major driver of climate change is urbanization. The rapid growth of cities as more people move from rural areas to urban centers, urbanization leads to the expansion of infrastructure, more buildings, more roads, more transportation, more businesses, and more energy consumption. So one of the biggest problems associated with urbanization is the urban heat island effect. So this happens when concrete, asphalt and metal surfaces absorb heat from the sun during the day and release it slowly at night. So dahil dito, mas mainit ang cities compared sa rural areas. So for example, sa Metro Manila, it can be 2 to 4 degrees Celsius hotter than neighboring provinces because of the high concentration of buildings, vehicles, and paved surfaces. So it becomes a cycle. Mainit ang city, mas maraming energy na nagagamit, mas maraming greenhouse gases na nag-emit, and mas muinit palalo. So in short, industrialization and urbanization are two of the most powerful forces shaping our modern world. So they bring economic progress and improve quality of life, but they also produce the majority of global greenhouse gas emissions. In conclusion, it is now very clear that human activities are the main cause of modern climate change. Because of the fast growth of industries, the large-scale cutting of forests, the continuous burning of fossil fuels, and the expansion of agriculture, the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere has increased to dangerous levels. Unlike natural climate changes that happen slowly over thousands of years, the changes we see today happen in only the last 200 years, which is extremely fast for our planet. Scientific experts, including NASA and the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, strongly agree that the warming we are experiencing today cannot be explained by natural patterns alone. The evidence is overwhelming. Human actions are the main reason our climate is changing so rapidly. That is why it is important to understand that solving climate change is not just a scientific or environmental challenge, it is also a moral responsibility. We need to reduce emissions, use cleaner energy, protect forests, and shift to sustainable practices. Every decision we make today will determine the kind of world future generations will inherit. In the end, addressing human-caused climate change is not only necessary to protect the environment, it is a responsibility we share as global citizens because the future of life on Earth depends on the actions we take right now.
Good day, everyone. Today, I will be discussing the economic impacts of various events and decisions that shape our communities and industries. Economic impacts refers to the changes in employment, income, business performance, and overall economic growth brought about by certain action or situations. Understanding these effects help us make informed choices and develop strategies that support long-term stability and progress. Impacts of climate change. Climate change affects many parts of our lives, not just the weather. It affects the economy, environment, people's jobs, food supplies, houses, cities, and even government budgets. All these effects are connected, and they make life harder for many countries, especially developing nations like the Philippines. Now, let's move to economic impacts of climate change. Climate change creates big problems for the economy. It damages farms, factories, roads, and even affects workers' health. Poorer countries are more affected because they depend on nature, like yung mga farming, sa fishing, or sa forest, which climate change easily disrupts. There are 5 economic impacts of climate change. The first one is agriculture and food production. Farming depends on good weather. When the climate change is too hot, too dry, or too wet, crops don't grow properly. Examples, when the temperatures rise for 1 Celsius, syempre yung rice production can be dropped by 10%. Pag too much rain naman or strong typhoons can wash away crops. Pag tuyo naman masyado yung lupa, it can kill the plants. So, if you remember the Typhoon Yolanda, many farms were destroyed, making vegetables and rice are more expensive. Fishing is affected too. Warmer conditions and damaged coral reefs make fish move to deeper and colder waters. This means less fish to catch, especially sa mga small fishermen. Second is infrastructure and industrial damage. Stronger typhoons and floods destroy buildings, roads, bridges, and power lines. When that happens, the government spends billions to repair everything. Examples, yung floods can damage highways, making it harder for food and goods to reach markets. Also, pag strong masyado yung winds, can destroy homes and power system, causing long blackouts. When factories floods, they stop producing goods, slowing down businesses. So, ABD says that Philippines might lose 6% of its GDP every year by 2100 if climate change is not controlled. So, the third one is labor productivity and human capital. Hotter temperature make it harder for people to work, especially sa mga working outdoors, like yung mga farmers, construction workers, and miners. Examples, yung mga workers, madali silang mapagod, pwedeng mahilo, or even faint from extreme heat. Heat stress could cut 80 million full-time jobs worldwide by 2030. So after typhoons, many people lose their jobs because workplaces get destroyed. This leads to more poverty and higher health expenses. Fourth one is rising energy costs and economic inequality. When it gets hotter, people uses more air conditioning and electric fans. This makes electricity bills higher. So, example, during sa summer heat waves, electricity bills go up because everyone uses air conditioning. And another one, countries that rely on coal or oil need to import more fuel, which costs more money. And rich people can buy better cooling system or move to safer areas, but yung mahirap na families ay hindi nila kaya, making inequality worse. By 2050, cooling energy use might triple if nothing changes. Thus, the opportunities in the green economy. Climate change is a problem, but it also opens opportunities. Countries can shift to renewable energy like yung solar, wind, geothermal, and hydro, which create new jobs and reduces damage to the environment. Examples, solar panels installation jobs, wind farms that produce clean electricity, electric jeepney and buses that reduce pollution, climate resilient crops that survive heat and drought. Countries like Denmark and Germany already grew their economies by investing in green energy. For the Philippines, going green can mean lower electricity costs, more jobs in clean energy, safer, climate resilient cities, better transport system, and stronger agricultures. So sum it up, climate change affects the economy, farms, factories, workers, energy costs, and inequality. It damages infrastructure and reduces food supply, but it also offers new opportunities in sustainable or green industries. If we invest in clean energy and climate smart systems, we can grow the economy while protecting the environment.
Geopolitical impacts of climate change. Climate change does not only affect the environment, it also affects how countries interact, how people migrate, and how governments maintain security. As global temperatures rise, nations face new political tensions and risks. For the first one, we have resource scarcity and competition. Climate change reduces water, fertile land, and energy supplies. When resources shrink, countries that share rivers or borders begin to compete, which increases the chances of conflict. Droughts and desertification make farming harder, affecting food security and pushing people to migrate. Environmental stress often makes existing political problems worse, so it becomes easier for conflicts to start. Second, climate migration and displacement. Millions of people are being forced to leave their homes because of flooding, stronger storms, and failing crops. This movement creates challenges for governments because receiving areas may not have enough housing, jobs, or services. When large numbers of climate migrants arrive in a region, it can lead to overcrowding, unemployment, and tension between communities. The third one is energy geopolitics and global transition. As the world shifts from fossil fuels to renewable energy, the global balance of power changes. Countries that rely on oil exports may lose influence, while nations producing green technologies in batteries gain importance. However, renewable energy requires minerals like lithium and cobalt, which can create new competition among countries trying to control these resources. And for the fourth one, we have climate change and international security. Climate change acts as a security threat because it worsens poverty, hunger, and displacement. When communities lose access to food and water, social unrest increases. This can lead to violence or even civil wars, as seen in Syria, where drought contributed to instability. Military forces also struggle because natural disasters create more demands for rescue and relief operations.
Good day, everyone. I'll discuss my part, which is the biological impact of climate change. In simple terms, climate change has big effects sa mga buhing butang and the environment nato. Rising temperature, changing rainfall pattern, and habitats destruction are messing up ecosystem and threatening species. Dili lang biodiversity ang mapektuhan, but also the thing from nature na importante sa ato like food, pollution, and clean air and water. So number one is the biodiversity loss. So meaning, pagkawala sa laing-laing klase sa species sa atong kalibutan. Climate change is causing a species to disappear at an alarming rate. 1 million species are at risk now because of habitat loss and global warming. So example, the coral reefs, which are home to 25% of marine life, are dying due to ocean acidification and thermal stress. So, daghang species kinahanglan mo migrate to color places which disrupt food change. If mawala ang importanteng species like pollinators, it affect the whole ecosystem and even our livelihood, food, tambal, and the culture. The second is the ecosystem disruption. So meaning pagkaguba sa normal na functions sa mga ecosystem. This is happening worldwide. Forests are experiencing more wildfire and wetlands are dying up. These changes release carbon, making global warming worse. Example: the Amazon rainforest. Once the carbon sink is now emitting more CO2 because of deforestation and rising temperatures. So what is the impact of this? Ecosystem instability increase vulnerability to invasive species, pests, and diseases. Pagkawala sa forest, reduces water quality and increase flooding. Third one is the agriculture, fisheries, and food system. So meaning, ang climate change may epekto sa atong pagpanguma, pagpanagat, ug mga supply sa pagkaon. Temperature and rainfall changes affect crop productivity, livestock health, and fish population. Example, drought reduce soil moistures, while heavy rainfall causes erosion. Saltwater erosion contaminates agriculture lands. Fisheries are also at risk kay init na ang dagat. So the impact is the color reef degradation lowers fish stock, affecting millions who rely on fishing. The human health and diseases, meaning ang climate change makadaot pod sa atong panglawas. Rising temperature and flooding expand the habitats of disease carrying insect, increasing cases of dengue, malaria, and Zika virus. Air pollution and wildfire smoke worsen respiratory condition. Heat waves lead to heat stroke. So, climate change can also cause mental health issues like anxiety and depression.
Meteorological impact of climate change. First, let us know what is meteorological impact. Weather is something we see every day. It can be rainy, sunny, windy, snowy, or stormy. The things that happen because of the weather are called meteorological impacts. Sunny weather helps plants grow and let people play outside. Rain gives us water, but too much rain can cause floods. Wind can feel nice, but strong wind can knock things down. Snow is fun to play in, but heavy snow makes it hard to travel. Storms can bring loud thunder and strong winds that may cause damage. Weather can be good or bad. These changes are meteorological impacts, and they show how weather affects our lives. First, let us discuss what is extreme weather event. When we say extreme weather event, it is the ocean is getting warmer because the earth is getting hotter. When the ocean gets warmer, big storms like typhoons and hurricanes become stronger and happen more often. The Philippines is in part of the world where many of these storms form, so it gets hit by typhoons again and again. Some very big storms like Typhoon Haiyan, or known as Yolanda in 2013, and Typhoon Rai, or also known as Odette in 2021, destroyed many houses, broke buildings, and caused many people to get hurt or lost their lives. After a huge storm, people need to fix homes, roads, and other buildings. But in countries that do not have a lot of money, it is very hard to fix everything quickly. Families may lose their jobs and their farms and their things. It takes a long time for everyone to feel safe again, and the whole community can struggle for many years. So stronger storms make life much harder for people, especially in countries that do not have enough resources to recover fast. Sea level rise and coastal erosion. When we say sea level rise and coastal erosion, it is the ocean is getting higher every year. Since a long time ago, it has gone up almost 19 centimeters. Now it is rising even faster. This is a big problem for many places around the world. The Philippines is in even more danger because the ocean around it is rising 3 times faster than the most places. This puts many coastal areas at risk. When the sea gets higher, it can wash away more beaches, cause floods more often, and let salty ocean water get into farms and clean water. This makes it hard for plants to grow and for people to get fresh water to drink. Some places that are low to the ground, like islands and big cities such as Manila and Jakarta, might get partly covered by water in the future. This can hurt homes, roads, schools, and the people who live there. So if the sea keeps rising, many communities will lose their homes and have to move, making life harder for everyone. Shifting rainfall patterns. These shifting rainfall patterns is when rain is becoming harder to predict. Sometimes it rains too much, causing big floods. Other times there are not enough rain, which leads to dry places called droughts. Both of these problems make life difficult for many people. When rain is not normal, there might not enough water for drinking, cleaning, farming, or making electricity dams. Farmers have hard time growing food because they can't tell with rain. This means crops can die or not grow well. In Southeast Asia, the rainy seasons called monsoons are also changing. Things like El Nino and La Nina make the weather even more confusing. Because of this, farming becomes less predictable and buildings, roads, and other systems can get damaged more easily. All these changes can make it harder for communities to stay safe and have the things they need. Heat waves and rising global temperatures. When we say heat waves, these are very hot days that last for a long time. They are happening more often now, and the year 2023 was one of the hottest years ever. When it gets this hot, it causes many problems. Crops can dry up and die because the heat is too strong. People use more electricity to cool their homes, which makes energy use go up. Very hot weather can also make people sick, especially babies, older people, and anyone who has health problems. Cities gets even hotter than the countryside because buildings, roads, and cars trap heat. This is called heat island effect. It makes cities areas feel much hotter, making it harder for people to stay cool and safe. All this extreme heat makes lives harder for many people, plants, and animals.
In conclusion, climate change is a major global crisis mainly caused by human actions, such as burning fossil fuels, deforestation, and unsustainable land use. These activities trap heat in the atmosphere and disrupt the planet's natural balance, leading to extreme weather, rising sea levels, loss of biodiversity, and damage to the economies and communities. Its effects are widespread, impacting agriculture, health, environment, and even political stability. Events like stronger typhoons and prolonged droughts shows that climate change is already happening now, and its consequences are becoming more severe. Overall, climate change is not just an environmental issue, but a reality that affects every aspect of life, proving how deeply connected humans are to the natural world.
To fight climate change, everyone must work together using long-term solutions. The government should use more renewable energy like solar and wind, build eco-friendly infrastructure, and protect forests, mangroves, and wetlands. Farmers need climate resilience methods, weather information, and financial support to keep food production stable. Cities should use climate-safe designs, improve waste management, and promote clean transportation. People must be educated about the environment, while strict laws and strong disaster preparedness keep communities safe. In the end, global cooperation and active community participation are needed to achieve a greener and safer future.